Welcome to Fun with Annuities with your host, me, Stan the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent. Can annuities be fun? Can contractual guarantees be fun? Absolutely they can. Find out the brutal facts about annuities with no sales pitches or high-pressure nonsense. Just the brutal and factual annuity truth, which is all you need to hear. Let's have some fun with annuities, and let's have that fun start right now. Welcome to Fun with Annuities. I'm your host, Stan, the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent, licensed in all 50 states. I want to welcome everyone on all the major podcast platforms and also on the Fun with Annuities YouTube channel. That's not my only YouTube channel. Also, I have a Stan, the Annuity Man YouTube channel that has informative and educational videos as well. But the Fun with Annuities YouTube channel is good because you get to see me and the guest interact and facial expressions and see how darn good looking we are, which is always a good thing. Today's guest is a return guest, and I really wish he'd be on every week, but he can't because he's pretty busy. In fact, he's just coming off a huge webinar, and I had to grab him and say, "Hey, let's fit one in because I need my people to hear you." I call him the annuity truth evangelist, the soothsayer of retirement income planning, and the Pied Piper of paychecks and playchecks. Welcome back, Tom Hegna.
Thank you, Stan. Great to be back with you.
Excellent. So let's just jump right in. Just wanted to get your take before we get into the meat of the matter. All of the stats that are coming out now are annuity sales are soaring. And that makes a lot of people scratch their heads and go, huh? How's that even possible, Stan and Tom? Because interest rates are perceived or all-time lows or however you want to say it. What's your answer to that, Tom?
Yeah, but mortality credits are probably the highest we're going to see for the rest of our lives. And so, there's three components to a paycheck from an income annuity. There's principal. Well, anybody can give you that. There's interest or investment gain. Anybody can give you that. But the secret sauce is that third ingredient, the mortality or longevity credits that you get from the risk pool. And you can't get this from stocks or bonds or real estate or crypto. And it's really the secret sauce. And so as people live longer and longer and longer, as they cure diseases, which I think they will, payout rates in the future will have to go down, not because of interest rates, but because of mortality credits. People are going to be living longer. So that's why I own 11 annuities. I don't sell them. I buy them and own them. And I'm trying to buy as many as I can before those mortality credits go down. I think interest rates, it's kind of confusing because I see inflation every day at the pump and at the grocery store, but the 30-year government bond, the smartest market in the world, the bond market, still doesn't see inflation. It's at 2.1% for a 30-year bond. So I'm an economist. It's a little conundrum for me.
I know, and people always get hung up on interest rates, and this podcast is directed toward, and 99% of the people listening are consumers. There are people that are trying to figure out if an annuity is right for them. And, there's a demographic tidal wave of 10,000 baby boomers hitting age 65 every single day. And we're seeing that demand, Tom, for guaranteed income. I just read an article on that, and the fact that people like BlackRock, who's a big money manager, they're starting to add annuities into their 401k plans. This secret sauce in the mortality credits, and you mentioned that this is, and remember everyone, Tom doesn't sell annuity. He gets paid handsomely for his brain and his advice from the standpoint of speaking to the industry, et cetera. He does not sell annuities. So when he says this is a sweet spot to buy lifetime income or income type annuities because of mortality credits being at what he sees as attractive levels, go deeper into that, Tom, and explain it to, like you're explaining it to a 9-year-old, why that mortality credit is good right now and might not be in a couple years, even though COVID has been the lurching dark cloud above us for a while.
Yeah, well, J.P. Morgan, believe it or not, came out with a great piece on annuities and saying you got to use them because they said an insurance company only has to plan for average because they're looking at a pool of thousands and thousands of people where individually you have to plan for success. They only have to plan for average because half the people will die before the other half the people, and so they can offer everybody a higher payout rate. I tell a story in my books on how to explain mortality credits, that there were 5 90-year-old ladies who went on vacation every year. And one lady said, hey, let's each put $100 in this box. We'll tape up the box. And next year, when we go on vacation, those of us who are still alive, we'll open the box and we'll split the money. They said, Helen, that's a great idea. So you got 5 90-year-old ladies, each put $100 in the box. They taped up the box. What do you think happened next year? They forgot where they put the box. No, unfortunately, one lady's died. So now 4 ladies open up the box. They split the $500. They each get $125. Now that was a 25% rate of return in 12 months. No money in the market, no interest rate. How did that happen? Because of mortality credits. So ladies look at this, they look at the brokerage account, they said, this is a pretty good deal. Let's put it all back in the box, tape it back up and do it again. So they decided to let it ride. The next year, one more lady died. So now 3 ladies open up the box. They split the $500. They each get $167. That was a 67% return in 2 years. No money in the market, no interest rate. Why? Because of mortality credits. Now we get people who say, yeah, but Tom, I don't want my money to disappear when I die. You don't have to. It can go to, you can have joint life with your spouse. You can do joint life with your granddaughter. These things can pay for 100 years. But I was just trying to show that that's how mortality credits work. It's extra money from the risk pool. The older you are, the longer you live, the better deal the income annuity is.
As I always tell people, there's no ROI until you die. How do you answer the people that they always, the hesitation for the investor in the raging bull market is fear of missing out, loss of opportunity. My counter to that is everyone needs an income floor with the current annuity that you own, which is Social Security. How do you answer that when people make the incorrect correlation or comparison to annuities and an investment?
Yeah, well, most annuities are great bond substitutes. They're not stock substitutes. I mean, a variable annuity, you could argue, can give you more upside because last year there were hundreds of variable annuity sub-accounts that were up over 20 and 30% after fees. So that'd be the closest to kind of comparing with the stock market. But if you're talking a fixed index annuity or an income annuity, that's really a bond substitute. And it's a great bond substitute because what are bonds paying right now? Almost nothing, 1 or 2%. And yet if interest rates go up, what happens to value bonds? They could fall 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. So there's very little upside in bonds, huge downside risk. Why not just use your bond portfolio? I mean, the average person out there invested is not 100% stock. They're 60% stock, 40% bond. So put the 40% into an annuity. You're going to do better than if it's a 60-40, 60% stock, 40% bond. In fact, Dr. Roger Ibbotson, the Ibbotson mountain chart that everybody looks at the stock, that guy did a study and he found that a 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio underperformed a 60% stock, 40% indexed annuity portfolio. So just use it as a bond substitute.
Are you hearing confidential whispering, or is it just your instinct and decades of experience on the fact that mortality tables, life expectancy tables are going to change?
Well, I mean, actually, we've had a dip in life expectancy because of COVID. Life expectancy actually has come down. But what Moshe Milevsky's done some research is if you go back to the pandemic in the early 1900s, that happened too. And then life expectancy spiked because most of the sick and people who were, many of them were going to die within the next year or two anyway. Now they died early. And now life expectancy will actually go up for the rest of us because we survived it. And so it's going to be interesting to see. But yes, I mean, I think the trend of people living longer and longer is going to keep going. I do believe that.
That's an interesting point that you just brought up. And I was thinking that maybe COVID was a little bit of a slap and a wake-up call as people pass away and we're past the 700,000 and that's mark, and that is tragic. But for me, it was kind of I just said, wait a minute, I've got to probably focus even more on my health. I know that you do as well. But you just walk them down really nice golf courses. And you hit them straight, which as much as possible. Do you think that that's also a determining factor of people living longer, or how do companies, annuity companies, explain to the consumer out there what they look at when they decide to maybe move or change a life expectancy table?
Yeah, well, and what's interesting is that the life expectancy table for life insurance policies is different than the life expectancy table they use for annuities, because people who have annuities live longer. I mean, it's a fact. I can't tell you if you buy an annuity for sure you're going to live longer, but of 1,000 people who own annuities versus 1,000 people who don't, the evidence is overwhelming that the people with annuities live longer because they have less stress, they worry less, because they're being paid to live. Many of them choose to live differently. They watch what they eat, they exercise, they call the doctor when they're not feeling well, and all these little things cause them to tend to live longer. And so, I think as more and more people realize this, the evidence shows your portfolio will do better if you have an annuity in there, that you're going to be happier in retirement. That's what all the research shows as well. I got a dozen slides to prove that in articles. And now the research is that you're going to live longer. And so I don't understand the pushback against annuities. At least as a bond substitute, they're going to outperform bonds. I'm not saying as a stock substitute. I think I think people got it. But see, people think that retirement's about having this big number, this asset, my 401k. That's not what it's about. The two things you want to have in retirement: number one, you want to have increasing income for the rest of your life. It should be increasing because of inflation. And then number two is risk management. What happens if you need long-term care? What happens if you live to be 105? What happens if the market crashes 30% and stays down for 20 years or 30 years like the Japanese stock market? What if we have inflation? What if they double or triple your taxes? See, most people who do it themselves, they've got all these blind spots, but they're looking at what's my rate of return? What's my asset?
Right.
They're never going to enjoy their retirement. They're going to be miserable in retirement. Assets make people miserable. Income makes people happy in retirement.
And as your good friend Jamie Hopkins says, it's the why that makes you cry is what he said recently. And we did a podcast with him. And I thought that was interesting because I think a lot of the retirement planning and income planning, people get caught up in the number, people get caught up in the payout, people get caught up on the ROI, and it's really peace of mind. I wrote this down. I think the annuity industry might need to take your heads up on this. Live longer, buy an annuity. That might be the annuity industry saying, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I've got all the documentation to back it up, and I put that in references in all my books, and we just updated Paychecks and Playchecks, so my books are updated with those references. And then there's a great website out there, protectedincome.org.
Sure.
Protectedincome.org. It's got great third-party resources. And so, I mean, I was with Dr. Michael Finka, one of the smartest guys who were up in Iowa, and he said, Tom, there's zero debate, zero among economists and PhDs who study retirement about if you should have annuity. It's 100%. Yes, you should. The discussions are what type and when. And so George Bernard Shaw once said, if you laid all the economists end to end in the world, end to end, they still couldn't reach a conclusion. But they are unanimous that you got to put an annuity in your portfolio if you want to be really successful in retirement.
Do you think that the current surge of banks and brokerage firms or RIAs starting to now recommend annuities? Is it because I'm going to hope that it's because of what you just said, or is it because of revenue, or both?
No, I think they fought it because they didn't want to do annuities because they wanted assets under management. The money of them get paid on assets under management. So that's what they were focused on. They thought if they sold annuities, they'd earn less revenue. So they were not being fiduciaries by not using annuities. I think what it is it comes down to math and science, because here's the deal. I've talked to some of the top producers in insurance and investments all over the world. They all come to the same conclusion. You got to use an annuity. It's all math and science, because the way that annuity functions inside of a portfolio, it functions like a AAA rated bond because it's guaranteed every single month. As long as you're breathing, those checks are coming with a CCC rated yield, because the payout rate's much higher than what you can get from a 10-year treasury with zero standard deviation. It never fluctuates. So even among the annuity haters, I say, well, okay, let's say there's no annuities. Let's throw annuity word out. What if I could get you a AAA rated bond with a CCC rated yield with zero standard deviation? Oh man, I would love that. Yeah, well, that's how it functions in your portfolio.
Interesting. Had a recent conversation with Wade Pfau, and we talked about the 4% rule, and he kind of shot it down based on math and facts. And from the standpoint of people looking at the 4% rule, just without taking into account Asian markets, European markets, etc. And I would encourage people to go listen to that podcast with Wade and I, because he's saying if that the 4% rule is pretty much based on the United States and Canada, and it really doesn't work the majority of the time. when you start looking at a global portfolio. Do you have any comments on Wade's findings on that 4% rule? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people hang their hat on that, especially in a raging bull market.
Well, Morningstar says it's 2.8%. I think Dr. Fau is at 2.4% or whatever.
Right.
4%. Here's how 4% can work. Okay. If somebody has a buffer asset, so let's say you have a diversified portfolio, but you got a nice big whole life policy, or you've got a reverse mortgage line of credit, or you've got some money sitting in a bank account somewhere, and you can take out 4% from your portfolio in any year that the market is flat or up. But if the market is down, you do not take money out of that portfolio, you take it out of a buffer asset. I'm okay with that.
Sure.
I think it's suboptimal. I don't think it'll give you the same results as using an annuity. But if somebody wants to do that, I'm okay with that. But they should not be having just a portfolio and taking 4%. That's a recipe for disaster, especially when markets are at or near all-time record highs, because at some point, we all know with all the funny money, it's going to stop, and the tapering and the interest rate. I mean, this thing could go down 20, 30, 40, 50%. And it's been down in Europe for 20 years. It's been down in Japan for 30 years.
Right.
I mean, I just don't want that to happen to my retirement. So that's why I've got 11 annuities. I'm going to be able to play golf, tennis, pickleball, travel, cruise, regardless of who's in the White House, who's in Congress, what's going on with inflation, what's going on with taxes. I've got my paychecks, I got my paychecks, and I'm going to enjoy my retirement.
Off topic a little bit, but staying in the Wade Fowl lane, he also recommends at age 62, you start looking into possibly utilizing the equity from your home as instead of drawing down on your portfolio, drawing down on that. A little bit outside the box, but what's your thoughts on that?
So that's one way to do it. You could also just get a fixed period annuity, or you could just take money out of a different account for those 8 years. Right. I tell people, in general, the breadwinner should delay. So if you have a husband and wife, if the husband made more money than the wife can take her benefit early if she wants to. I don't have a problem with that. But the higher earning spouse, in this case, the husband, should wait. Why? Because his check covers both lives. See, when he dies, she's going to get his. If he took his early, he locked her into a lower survivor benefit. So the breadwinner should delay, but in that 8 years, they don't have to go without anything. They could still take out whatever it would have been at age 62, just take it out of a different account, whether that's a reverse mortgage or a whole life policy or IUL or a bank account. Just take, again, kind of a buffer asset, take money out of that for 8 years, and then kick in that highest check for the rest of both of their lives.
Got it. You talk about, sometimes you use the phrase retirement alpha. That is not a fraternity for people that love annuities. Mm-mm. Tell the people out there what that means to the consumer. What's retirement alpha? Okay.
So first, let's talk about alpha. Alpha is the outperformance that a fund manager brings to an investment fund. So let's say like Will Danoff ran the Fidelity Contra Fund for years. He outperformed the S&P 500. His outperformance was considered alpha. He knew what to buy, when to buy, what to sell, when to sell. And his management provided extra performance. That's called alpha. But I never heard it associated with an insurance or an annuity product. But then the Financial Research Corporation of Boston wrote a white paper, and they said that these mortality credits are a new form of alpha, retirement alpha, that you can't get from stocks or bonds. And when you really understand these mortality credits being a method of outperformance that you can't get from any other like guaranteed type in product, it's really powerful. And again, it's all based in math and science. These aren't people's opinions.
Retirement alpha, a lot of questions I get in the world of Stan the Annuity Man, where I'm working hand in hand with consumers, is the internal rate of return or expected that. And what you're really saying is it's mortality credits. If you're looking at lifetime income, that's really the return. The box with the five ladies, that example you gave is a very simplistic way of explaining a very complex item, which is mortality credits. How can the annuity industry advance the education on explaining mortality credits? You did it and you do it all the time, but it needs to be done at a massive level. Can that be accomplished, or is that just pie in the sky stuff for the annuity industry?
I really think that's what that Alliance for Lifetime Income is trying to do. It's a consortium of many different companies that have pitched in, and they're trying to educate the public, and they're trying to show that Ken Fisher is not telling the truth out there, and they're trying to show that these mortality credits, and they try to bring these PhDs to light that share the facts with people. Right now, they're just getting misinformation, and once they get the facts, I mean, I wouldn't own 11 annuities annuities if they were stupid products. Dr. David Babel had 14. He died in May, unfortunately, but he's
I
in a
didn't know that.
documentary.
That's tragic.
Yeah, he and I are both in this documentary that's coming out here shortly on the retirement crisis in America. And that's the first time I heard he had 14. So I've still got some work to do, because I'm going to pass that, because I can't find a product that can give me more peace of mind and do more for my wife and I, that we can live. See, the American college had this thing that if you have enough income, you can create the lifestyle that makes you the happiest. And so for us, we have a place in Phoenix that we spend our winters. Mm-hmm. It's got 2 golf courses there. We join the country club here up at Flagstaff Ranch. We have a place up here, and we spend the summers up here. And I feel like a kid. I'm playing in match play and team match play, and I'm the captain of the Rim Cup, the captain of the Ranch Cup. I won our club championship last year, the oldest club champion in course history. So I'm living the lifestyle that makes us the happiest. We just got back from Nashville. We went for the Rolling Stones concert. I mean, so we're living the lifestyle that makes us the happiest. But some of your listeners wouldn't want that. They'd want to be in a city where they can have dinner and go to Broadway plays. But if you have enough income coming in, you can create the lifestyle that makes you the happiest.
How were the Stones? How was Mick?
Oh, it was awesome. Like, I don't believe one single person left that stadium disappointed. I mean, really, it was unbelievable. And you know what was really great to see is how diversity is come across. They replaced Charlie Watts with this great African-American drummer. They had 2 African-American singers, an African-American on bass and on saxophone. And so it looked like the multicolors of America up there. And it was really, I really thought it was an awesome show. And I mean, of course, everything was just over the top. It was
I need Mick to write a song called Mortality Credits.
Well,
because
start me up and never stop. He's
exactly.
got the song, start me up and never stop. That's the Annuity.
That is true. And for people that don't know who Charlie Watts is, he's the drummer for the Stones that just passed away. And all of these cats are in their late 70s. I think Charlie was actually 80, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I know Mick and Keith are 78, and Wood is Ronnie Wood is 74, I think.
And maybe that's the reason that I think a couple of years back, the Alliance for Lifetime Income actually sponsored the Rolling Stones.
They are the
tour.
sole sponsor.
Are they still the sole sponsor?
Yeah. And I was hanging out at their booths talking to people about retirement and how important guaranteed lifetime income is. And what's interesting, when you look, I got in that crowd, and when you look out, you know who's there? 50, 60, 70-year-old people, some 80-year-old people, sure, some 30, 40, but it was a baby boomer crowd that needs the guaranteed lifetime income for at least a portion. We're not talking all their money, Stan. We're talking a portion, so 20 to 40 to 60%, somewhere in there.
So every time we talk, Tom, we come up with great ideas. And the great idea from this one is the annuity industry, they're saying, is live longer, buy an annuity. And the song that's playing behind that is Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Never
stop, never, ever, ever stop. That's the annuity.
Very, very good. Hate to get off on the interest rate tangent because we've been talking about mortality credits, et cetera, but it does play a partial role in some of the pricing of annuities, and depending on the type of annuity that you have. Is this the new normal? I think I asked you this the last time, but I'm always checking in with your pulse on this. Rates at these levels, is this the new normal? Has the government painted themselves into a corner?
Is anything normal anymore? I don't know. Like I see things. And I used to follow Harry Dent a little bit. Now a lot of people, he's controversial, but let me tell you what, he always got the big things right. But even how can you predict based on cycles when all of a sudden there's $2 trillion here and $3 trillion there and five? I mean, you can't. So the government is totally messing around with normal economic cycles. So I can't tell you what's normal, but that's why I'm planning. I'm hoping for the best, planning for the worst. But regardless, I'm going to have a happy retirement.
Harry Dent, one of the great things, and people don't know who that is, I think he wrote a book that he was predicting the market crash, and he also wrote a book predicting the market boom, which I thought was a very nice hedge from an author's standpoint because he called both. I don't know where he's landing right now because I'm not following. He
gets the big things right. Where I wish he wouldn't do it. He said, in June of 2022, the market's going to go 20. Nobody knows what's going to happen in June of 2022. And if they print $1 billion or $1 trillion the week before, that's not going to happen anyway. And so that's where but I think he's just to the point where he can't. How do you predict this stuff anymore with all the government intervention, the printing and spending? It's a little crazy.
Which leads us back. Well, It's kind of like predicting the second coming. That's a tough one to call the date on that. Based on that last comment of just everything's unpredictable, we're kind of in blue water. We haven't really seen this before. How are the annuity companies, and I know that they talk to you in confidence and without revealing anything, how are they feeling about where we're at and the fact that it's hard for them to predict where we're headed?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to be an insurance company right now in this low interest rate environment. How do you give people a long-term guarantee when you don't know what's going to happen with life expectancy and interest rates? But again, read that JP Morgan piece that the insurance companies can plan for average, where you have to plan for optimal. And that's why they can do it, because, you know, out of 1,000 people, they know half the people are going to die before the other half. So they can offer high payout rates to everybody. They know they're not only going to have to pay it to half the people. And so it's again, it's based in numbers, it's based in math and science. And so, you know, the mortality credits are still significant, especially for older people. The older you are, if you're in your 70s and 80s, man, this is boom time for you. You know, you're guaranteed double digits on some of these SPIAs and DIAs, single premium immediate annuities, deferred income annuities. You know, so I just think, and now they've come out with these RILAs, these registered index linked annuities that are really variable annuities that don't have fees. They put some caps, but they're much higher, and they put some floors or buffers in there so that people can, you know, manage their risk. And so they're developing some new things. We'll see how it all turns out, but it's interesting times for sure.
Let's talk about sequence of return risk. I think you kind of covered that, but I want to dig into that a little bit more for the listener and viewer out there that has heard about it, just like they've heard about mortality credits. And I think you have done a very good job of explaining that. Can you do the same for sequence of return risk?
Well, okay, so all sequence of returns risk says is that the day you retire, all the investment rules you knew go out the window, and average returns don't mean anything. See, the whole time that you have your 401k, your IRA, average returns matter. I mean, if you get 8%, it's better than 6. If you get 10%, it's better than 8. If you get 12%, it's better than 10. So your entire investing life, average returns mean everything. And yet the day you retire, they're going to mean nothing, because you can average 10% a year for 22 years in retirement, only take out 5% and go dead broke, just like that. And what it really says is that if you're pulling money out of a portfolio and the first two or three years of your retirement, the market goes down, 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 and you're pulling money out, you're highly likely to run out of money. Because here's the deal. Not only is the market going down, you have to take more and more of the stock or the shares, all right, but you're spending it then. And so when the market goes back up, none of that goes back. And so that can put your portfolio into a death spiral. Conversely, if you retire and you're taking money out of a portfolio, and the first 2 or 3 years the market goes up, 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 the math and science says you're highly likely to be successful. So the riskiest time to invest is not when you're 87. It's when you're 57 to 67. It's those years right before or right after retirement. You don't want to lose money there. But I will also tell you this. Because markets now are at or near all-time record highs, what's the biggest risk? That it's going to keep going or that it's going to fall? And the higher the market goes, the bigger the risk is that it's going to fall. And so people just need to be very careful. And if they're going to use a portfolio strategy, they've got to have a buffer asset. Do not take money out of a portfolio in a down market.
Which is what everyone does.
They have to. Most of them have to, because their broker says, oh, you'll be okay. Markets go up and down, but over time, they always go up. Well, that's good when you're saving and investing. That is not good when you're retired.
Me and you have been around a long time, decades and decades. I always tell people that a lot of the advisors that are out there right now on the stock side, the market side, I mean, I have cowboy boots older than they are. They have not seen market cycles. They've not seen things go down. Tom and I have both seen those calamities, seen people walk out on their front lawn and throw up, seen people's retirement plans go up, poof. And the last time that was, you know, that happened was in that 2008 time period. And we all were told, Tom and I both, next time that's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to do that again. Tom, we're right back there again, where people are forgetting the past.
And that when things go down, if you remember, everything went down. Stocks went down, bonds went down, gold went, like everything went down. Everything went down. And it's not supposed to be that way. Like when this goes down, that's supposed to go up. But there was a time when everything went down. And so, but my annuities just keep clicking, you know. And so I just don't know why a person would want to have a retirement portfolio without an annuity. It will be suboptimal. It's mathematical, scientific fact. It'll be less than what it should be. They're going to worry more. They're going to spend less. They're going to be less happy. They'll probably not live as long. And I mean, everybody's got their choice. I mean, you don't have to wear a seatbelt. Well, you don't have to wear a helmet on a motorcycle. You can do dumb things, but I think retiring without an annuity is a pretty dumb thing.
Can we rephrase that? They're already retiring with an annuity.
Social Security.
So really the thing is adding to the income floor that Social Security provides. But people need to understand, if they don't already, Social Security was never put in place to be the primary source of retirement income. It was never put there. And unfortunately it is for a lot of people. But you know, the haters that say they hate all annuities are like, well, then you need to call Social Security and cancel the payments, because that's what you're getting. And really what you're saying is you need to look at adding to that income floor, which is what I say, that's the amount that's hitting your bank account every single month. So Tom can go play golf, and you can go play golf, or you can get in the RV and go across America. Tom, I was thinking about you the other day. I'm a voracious reader of all things annuities, just to see if anyone's out there thinking outside the box a little bit. And last time we were on together, we talked about Bitcoin, but I did see the first salvo across the bow. There's going to be annuity attached to Bitcoin. Did you see that? And what's your comment?
I did not. I have said the insurance company that can come up with a crypto sleeve on their indexed annuity or variable annuity, they're going to do very well, because those things can go up 1,000%, you know, and if you even just got a portion of 1,000%, you can do pretty darn well. And so I think, you know, especially for millennials, I think that would be a great entree. They can have some, you know, crypto exposure, and it's have some guarantees. I'd have to see the details, because
the details on it were your initial salvo, and the way I understood it, without getting the details, it was an accredited investor type product. But I thought it was interesting that I was waiting for the first company to say, okay, we're going to figure out how to attach that asset class into an annuity. I think it was a variable annuity chassis. That's a managed type product, but that's going to break the seal, as they say. And I do think,
I'm sure it's like a 5% or probably not more than 10% exposure.
Sure.
You know, I told you I put 1% of my portfolio in there. It seemed to make sense. If I lost 1%, it wouldn't matter. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, it'll be a lot. And I bought in it when Bitcoin was $3,000 Bitcoin. And that thing has grown to be a pretty big chunk, and it's back up to like 57,000 a day or whatever. I mean, I just think to have 1% or a very small exposure is prudent. I think it's more prudent to have 1% than zero.
No, I agree with that. I just think, I was speaking with someone the other day. I said, I'll guarantee you that every board meeting at companies that in the product design division, that's being thrown out because of just the fact that from attracting consumers and attracting premium, it would be the ultimate carrot if you had a crypto of some sort. I mean, it would have to be pro-customer and priced in the customer's favor, but also priced so that the annuity company, survives. But what other innovations, other than that being an obvious one, what are you seeing or hearing from the companies? Are they just stuck or kind of locked in right now to just doing what they're doing and repetitive business because of the current environment?
No, I mean, I think the RILAs, the index variables were a step.
Sure.
I think you're going to see more products where they combine things, where they've combined life insurance with long-term care with the money back guarantee. So it's an emergency fund. It's a life insurance policy. It's long-term care. I'm working with a company that's trying to really crack this long-term care crisis because it's a big crisis. And they're developing something that tries to keep people out of nursing homes. So there's incentives for doing certain things to stay healthy, seeing your doctor regularly, just things you can do, walk a couple blocks or something, just minor things that as you do them, then your coverage can increase so that, but there'll be like almost a near guaranteed issue. It might maybe just 2 or 3 initial questions. And if you pass that, then there's an initial guarantee, and then you can earn extra coverage if you do it. So they're trying to keep people in their houses as long as possible, out of nursing homes. And I think there's going to be some popularity around that, and it's going to be on an annuity chassis.
I love that thought. I wish you would lob a call into Dr. Fauci and say, can we talk about people getting in better shape or not being overweight? Can we go there? I know it's fat shaming, however, little political correct term, but I do think that that's a great product. It's an incentive product. I think that I wish the government would go at this COVID thing and say, listen, we need to be healthier. We need to watch what we eat. We need to exercise. We need to lose weight as a country. Wouldn't that be a neat political stance? And it sounds like this product is doing that. And you can choose. I mean, you don't have to work out and
Right.
you don't have to eat
Right.
good. But if you want this product and you want preferential pricing and you want better benefits, then if you follow these things, you're going to get it. It sounds like a pretty good blueprint to our friends in DC. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah,
Love
I
it.
know. And I don't know why they don't just encourage people. Like, even if you walk for 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, it can do huge. It helps your heart. It helps your lungs. It helps. I have a friend, he was always chubby, and I saw him one day and he goes, I go, man, you're skinny. And he goes, Tom, I swear all I'm doing is walking 20 minutes a day. I walk 20 minutes a day and it's just pouring off me. So there's simple things you can do. Like, even portion control. You go to restaurants because they can now charge $20 for everything. They give you this whole huge thing. I
Yeah.
only eat a portion, then I take it home. But I mean, portion control would be another thing, but I don't know. The world right now is so upside down. I don't even know what's going on sometimes.
What's interesting about the product that you just described that you're working on with this, Carrie, and my thanks for you to doing that, because I think it's very pro consumer. It sounds like I'm going to call it might not be the right phrasing, but a reverse underwritten product, meaning that instead of underwriting for your health on the front, they're saying you get the product and then we work on our health as you get it, and then we reward you as you get better. Am I missing something?
No, that's it. And this isn't really a carrier. This is an industry, kind of an organization that's working with
Got
carriers.
it.
So there's going to be multiple companies that develop a product like this, but they've got PhDs and all these, rocket scientist type people. And they've really, they've really helped crack this nut. And so we'll see how it all goes, but I'm very optimistic, because as you know, most people do not have a plan for long-term care. And that's going to be a disaster for many people.
It really is. I know that you're one of the most sought after, if not the most sought after person to speak to the industry, to speak to agents, advisors, banks, insurance companies, and also consumers. I mean, you do a great job with the consumer message that you give. But I recently heard you speak about advanced income planning, but you were talking to agents because the people that hired you wanted that message to be directed to agents and advisors. Can you take that same advanced income planning message and for the do it yourselfers, because that's my people, that's the clients. I mean, I have a site that you can run your own quotes, and it's a do it yourselfer type thing, even though I do sell annuities, but I do want people to educate them. Can you do an advanced income planning oversight for the consumers listening to this or watching this?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I honestly don't think that wealthy people are much different than anybody else. They got different basic living expenses. They might have yacht fees. They might have private jet fees. They might have, their NetJet card or something as they consider their basic living expenses. And so it doesn't really matter how wealthy or not wealthy a person is. The formula is the same. They should cover those basic living expenses with some form of guaranteed lifetime income. Social Security counts because it's an annuity. A pension counts if you have one. It's an annuity, but whatever you're short, that's where the annuity fits. And then you can optimize the rest of the portfolio to protect yourself against inflation. That's where dividend paying stocks fit, real estate, if you want oil stocks or whatever, maybe you don't want oil stocks, whatever you want, that fits over here. But the research is clear, whether you're wealthy or not, that really does work.
The advanced part, when you're talking to advisors and agents, the consumer always wants to hear those things. When you're talking, the advanced part, is that looking at the entire portfolio and making sure that that income floor is in place? There's a little bit, I'm sure it's a little bit more broad and detailed than that. Can you give the secret sauce to the consumer listening and viewing this, kind of what you're telling? Yeah.
I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Honestly, not. I mean, I do have a new webinar that's out there on how I teach people how to become millionaires, but that's really directed more towards Generation X, Y, Z, and millennials. You know, people who are saving and investing. And
Got it.
I show people how really simple it is for young people to become millionaires today. But you know, there's a formula. You gotta get really good at what you do because you want to make more money. The more money you make, the faster you can become a millionaire. You got to watch your spending. People are wasting money like crazy. You got to stop wasting money, and you need to put money into appreciating assets. See, cars, boats, RVs, jet skis, handbags, shoes, they all go down in value every single day. You want to put your money into appreciating assets, things like stocks and maybe annuities and real estate and things that go up in value. And so that may be what you're talking about. I'm not sure, but that is one of my newest presentations for the younger crowd. That's my first foray into the younger crowd, because everything I've done is really for baby boomers and above.
And you've done a fantastic job for that. It's been a life's work for you, coming out of New York life and deciding to make this, I mean, your life's work. And you're certainly, the legacy that you have in place is phenomenal. Is this new book and new direction toward the young people, is that the new passion for you? I know we talked about this a little bit last time.
No, I mean, I'm still going to focus most of my efforts on retirement, because there's still those 78 million baby boomers, and very few of them have it right. Most of them have it wrong, and I'm trying to help them get it right. But I am dipping my toe in with the younger people, because, you know, I've got to look at my succession planning too. And I've got 3 boys and a daughter. I'm thinking one of my sons may, you know, get into it, and then he could start doing some videos for the younger people. So I'm trying to start building a relationship with younger people as well. But my focus is still going to primarily be with that baby boom generation, because if they get it wrong, they're going to be miserable in retirement, and I want them to get it right.
And that's good news for me, and that's good news for our listeners and viewers. When you say getting it wrong, and we've gone over some misconceptions and those type of things, what are the main things that people are getting wrong, other than not being fully educated on things like sequence of return risk and mortality credits and things like that? What are the glaring examples that you think could be easily fixed that people are getting it wrong?
Well, they're dealing with a financial advisor who just talks about investments, stocks, bonds, ETFs, crypto. You know, that's not going to get you through retirement. That'll get you to retirement. It will not get you through retirement. They don't have a plan for long-term care. They'll be wiped out if they have a thing for long-term care. They don't have a plan for taxes going up, because taxes are going to double or triple. It's just a math problem. It's not a Republican Democrat issue. They don't have a plan if inflation is there. They don't have a plan for deflation. You know, they don't have a plan if the market crashes 40% and stays down for 30 years. See, they got blind spots. And so that's doing it wrong. You want to be able to be happy and successful in retirement regardless of what's happening. And you cannot do it without using some insurance products. Another mistake they're making is they're trying to leave money to kids. You're not supposed to leave any money to your kids. You're supposed to spend all your money. Leave them life insurance, because
Correct.
you can do that for pennies on the dollar. We bought a $1 million policy for our kids, second to die. It only costs $150,000, completely paid up. 15 cents on the dollar. We transfer $1 million tax-free to them, but then we get to spend all the rest of the money. And so, you know, too many people are doing it wrong. I spend my life trying to help people do it right.
Much appreciated on that. You know, there's all kinds of designations, you know, certified financial, you know, CFPs, CFAs, CMAs. Are they not addressing that? Or is it when the lights are on and the game is on, the advisor forgets all of that? Because I know the training is there for CFP and this type of stuff. And I used to work for Morgan and Dean Witter and Payne Weber and UBS. The training was there, but it seems like, and I'm an ex-athlete, when the lights go on, you either remember the play or you don't remember the play. Do you think it's more of that? Where do you think that the advisory business is going wrong?
Well, you know, many of these advisors claim to be fiduciaries. Well, if they're fiduciaries, they're supposed to work in the client's best interest, but they're not using annuities. They're not using life insurance. They're not using long-term care insurance. Oh, I'm just an investment guy. Well, then don't say you're a fiduciary. Okay. You're a fake fiduciary, because you can't retire optimally without using annuities, life insurance, and long-term care insurance. You cannot. I mean, I got all the math and science. Anybody wants to come and argue with me, debate me. I got reams. I got the evidence. You know, they got opinions. I got the facts, and facts beat opinions 100% of the time. And so, you know, they're just doing it wrong. And some of them are so adamant, you know, and they're worried about the IRR. Well, IRR in retirement is income reliability rate. Okay. That's more important. They say ROI. What's the ROI?
Say that again for people,
Yes.
Please.
Well, they are thinking IRR's investment rate of return. And in a retirement, it means income reliability rate is way more important than your investment rate of return. And then ROI, return on investment, in retirement should be reliability of income. Those are way more important. So they've got their focus in the wrong place. They think it's about making money in the market, and the markets always go up. They go up and down all the time. But over time it always goes up. That's great for the paycheck. That does not work for the paycheck.
Jamie Hopkins said ROS. I thought, what the heck is that? He goes, return on sleep.
Yeah.
He's a big, lifestyle guy in combination with, and he's a good friend of yours, I know that, and he's right. I mean, that's part of the whole health component, the lifestyle component, and living a better life, not only just looking at the numbers, and looking at chapter 2 of your life from a different standpoint. I think you covered it very well early in the podcast, talking about going through the accumulation phase of your life where you're accumulating. I think the word that's improperly used, I wish they would just get rid of it, is decumulation. I don't like that because it's just a negative word. What would be your replacement word for decumulation?
Well, I mean, that's the word that academics use. They use decumulation.
Right.
I talk about the income phase, that you need guaranteed income for the rest of your life. The retirement phase. All the research shows that people are the happiest in retirement are the ones who have guaranteed income because they can spend the most. And see, it's spending money. It's the dinners out. It's the bottles of wine with your friends. It's a cruise. It's a Rolling Stones concert. That's how you enjoy a retirement. I don't care how many millions of dollars you got stashed in some account somewhere. If you're too scared to touch it and you're living this just in case retirement, well, then you're going to die. And instead of you joining the country club and you buying a boat and you seeing the world, it's going to be your kids that join the country. The kids. And I just want people to enjoy it. Yes, leave life insurance to your kids for pennies on the dollar, but spend all your money. You're not getting any younger. You don't get to take any of it with you. You're supposed to spend it.
There's no U-Hauls behind hearses, as I always say. That's one of the biggest challenges with my clients is trying to convince them. They've been box checkers and planners and scrimpers and savers their whole life. A lot of them grew up without money. Now they have money, and it's hard. It's almost a disease.
Yeah, I call it psychonomics. So I talk about math, science, and economics, but I've been talking a little bit about psychonomics. See, you got something from your company every 2 weeks, your entire working life. It was called a paycheck. And what did you do with that paycheck? Well, you paid for your house, you paid for your car, you went on trips, you bought stuff. You got and spent a paycheck every 2 weeks, your entire working career. But when was the last time you rated your 401k? When did you take $200,000 out of your IRA or 401k? Oh, we can't do that. We got to save it. We got to grow. We got to protect it. We can't spend it. Right. So they do this for 40 years. And all of a sudden the paycheck stops. But guess what? We can't touch it. We got to grow it. We got to save it. We got to protect it. And so they never touch their assets. Many of these baby boomers are going to go to their graves never touching their assets. And so what I say is you need to take a portion. Let's just say 40% as a rule of thumb. 40% of those assets, turn that into income. That's going to give you the freedom because those checks will never stop. You'll spend every one of them. And that's what you're supposed to do. Spend your money in retirement and they'll never end. As long as you and your spouse are alive, if you do joint life, those checks are coming. You're supposed to spend them. And then if you want to invest with this other stuff, you can do that. But, good grief, enjoy your life. You're not getting any younger. You don't get to take any of it with you.
And as I tell everyone, if you have the right income floor in place, and I'm assuming that you tell your advanced income planning with your advisors and agents, if the right income floor is in place, you'll be a better investor. You'll do a better job in the markets, period.
It gives you the license to be more aggressive and weather the storms. You can ride out the storm if you don't need that money for that month's, rent or your house payment or your food. You can let it go back up because markets do go up and down, but over time they go up. But that doesn't work when you're taking money out for your paycheck. So that needs to come out of a guaranteed source, and then you can actually invest for the long term, and you can make more money. You can leave more money if you want to.
Always, every time that I speak with you, Tom, whether it's on air or just one-on-one or we see each other, you can't hide passion and you can't hide IQ. And that's Tom Hegna. I mean, I'm telling you, if this doesn't motivate you as a listener and viewer to look at retirement differently and from the standpoint that Tom is talking about, which is lifestyle, you can get there, but you have to put things in place and transfer risk along the way just like he's saying, I do encourage everybody to go to my site at theannuityman.com. I'll have a page that's just for Tom. It'll have his website. It'll have how to get his books. It'll have everything about him if you want to access his materials and learn as well. I do, if you buy a book, buy the Paychecks and Playchecks, he's updated it. And the first time I saw that title, I was on an airplane and I was like, what? And that's kind of how I found out about Tom. And that was a long, long time ago. But he's updated the book. So anything new else on the horizon for you, Tom, before we close this thing out?
Well, I am making a little foray for the younger people, trying to help them become wealthy, because I think they're going to need millions to be able to retire, especially when you're looking at what's happened to gas prices and food prices. And young people have the time. Older people don't have the time. Young people have the time that the smaller dollars can accumulate to a lot.
Well said. And Tom, I really appreciate you joining us again on Fun with Annuities. And for all the listeners and viewers out there, thanks again for tuning in. And I will see you next week on Fun with Annuities. Thanks for listening to Fun with Annuities. Please hit the subscribe button and make sure to go to my site at theannuityman.com, where you can run your own SPIA, DIA, and QLAC quotes and see a live feed of the best MYGA fixed rates in the country, and even get indexed and income rider quotes as well. You can also sign up for my 6 Annuity Owner's Manual books, and I'll ship them for free and under no obligation. I also encourage you to schedule a one-on-one call with me, Stan the Annuity Man, so we can have a full discussion of your specific situation. It will be the best brutally factual and truthful advice you will ever get, and that's one guarantee you should definitely take advantage of. So join me next time for the #1 annuity podcast on the planet, Fun with Annuities.